Okay, Tov. Welcome everybody. So we're on Samach Zayin Amud Beis. So the parak is called Meruba, and it started Meruba Midas Bava Kamma. No, Meruba Midas Tashlumai Kefil more than Dal V'Hei, because Kefil applies to everything, even even inanimate object. And Dal V'Hei is only, besides being even only by Bali Chaim, it's not even all Bali Chaim, it's only Shor B'Seh B'Lvad. That's what the mission says. Midas Tashlumi Bava Kamma, and I Gesel B'Shor B'Seh. Pasuk says, כי יגנוביש עושה, וטבחו ומכורו, חמישו בקור ישלם תחת השור, וארבע צאן תחת השה. If somebody steals ox and he slaughters it or sells it, so he's chayav to pay back 5 oxen. And if he stole a sheep and he slaughtered it or sold it, he has to pay 4 sheep. That's the pasuk. And the mission says that only applies to these two animals, only a shor and a seh, only an ox and a sheep. A sheep, I think, as we didn't find the word for both goat and a sheep in English. No, there's a word seh means both. There's sechsavim, seizim. A keves means a sheep, and a eiz means a goat, and the word seh means both. And chamisho b'kor yishalem tachas haseh, v'abason tachas haseh. L'chora, the word son also might mean both. So I don't know what the word in English is, but it means a sheep or a goat. So 5. So only it applies to these two, only to a shor baseh. The din of Dalet Bey is limited only to these two. There's no din of Dalet Bey only by Sharnis. If it will be a horse or it will be a chamor, that doesn't apply. Only to these two. So, Samach Zayin Amud Beis. And it's about, what is it, 10 lines down, more, 15. Umidin Tashlumi Bava Kamma only applies, the etc. is only applies to Shor Baseh. And the more is a kasha, why take it so literal? We had before Mishnah that says that when it says, let's say by bor, the nafal shama shor chamor, that it's lav dafka, doesn't only mean the shor chamor. And we learned out a whole list of different things that, even though it says a certain animal is lav dafka, and we made a shofar from Shabbos to say over there it says shor, and it doesn't only mean the shor. There's a drush to say it means anything. So let's make a drush that is lav dafka. That's the most who says that the din of Dalet Bey shor says dafka shor. Maybe it applies to other animals also, even birds, anything living. We should learn out like other places we see by the whole list of things. The end of the paragraph before, that whole list. Show Sinai over there. Further back is further back than I thought. In the 5th paragraph. Yeah, end of the 5th paragraph. Echad Shav, Echad Kol Behemah, and Filas Habor, First Har Sinai, Kefel, Shabbos Aveda, Frika, Chasima, Klaim, Shabbos. So many times it says shor, and it doesn't only mean the shor. No, but he was saying that it says shor, but says dafka. Why? Why do we say that it's dafka? Just to point out in the Pashup Shot, there's also mashma that is lav dafka. The Rishonim say that on Chumash, that it says at the end of the parsha, it says that if you'll find if it's chayim, mishor at chamor at seh chayim shnayim yishalem. It's the Pashup Shot is going on the same case. It starts off that if he tabach mocha, then it's dalabay, and a couple of sukkam later it says, but if you find it by the ganav alive, it wasn't sold or slaughtered, so then he pays shnayim, then he pays kefil, and the pasuk over there says mishor at chamor at seh. So you say that chamor is also included, and Ibn Ezra says that's pashut the pasuk that the din of dalabay applies to other animals also. But the Torah Shabbat Peh says not, and he says the Masorah says not, and now we're going to learn how the Mishnah knows that. The Mishnah says it only applies to Shor B'Seh, and Rob is going to explain how we know it. How come you don't say that it applies to other animals also? Amar Rava, Amar Ko, Shor B'Seh, Shnei Pamim. It says 2 times. It says extra words in the pasuk, and I imagine that it says it's going to be over here on the side. Yep, it's not there. It's not on the side. Okay, it's not on the side of Rashi this time. If someone steals, if a man steals an ox or a sheep and he slaughters it or sells it, he should pay 5 cattle for the tachas, for the ox that he stole and slaughtered, and 4 sheep for the seh. That's the pasuk. We're going to elaborate on this pasuk very much. That's going to be the whole sugya now. So it says here, shor or seh. Oh, wrong color.
Fascinating that the decision was to give a 5 to the ox, the stealing of the ox, and 4 to the shed.
I think Muslims talk about why this 5 and that
Because
4.
I mean, an ox is much more expensive than it
So
is.
they what?
It's going to cost them a fortune.
Some
I'm
unfortunately, the
not saying
Chumash
that it's
said
my job to get nervous about his money, but
that's
you
right.
shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, but how? So
But yeah,
the
whatever.
Gemara is going
It's
to
a
the Gemara
lot
is
of
going to say
money. Either way you look at it. Yeah.
the Gemara is going to talk about how come it's difference 5 and
Yeah.
4 to say
Yeah.
time of the Kra, and some say I don't know if it's a Gemara or it's Mefarshim that they say that maybe the Shor might be more valuable because he took away the work of the owner. He wasn't able to work with the sheep. Okay, sheep was grazing till you're going to use it for its wool, whatever, of milk. But sure, that you lost a lot of work, but maybe that's the reason why it's worth more.
Besides that, if he's made the class before, you won't have to pay.
Either true.
So Chaim David's question is, you have to pay a fortune. It should be made then. You have to pay.
I shouldn't have stolen either. That's
No, I'm saying he sees everything.
Look, I don't
It's
even
also a
look
question.
at the terrorist.
If he sees Nathan coming, it's also a question of the Gemara. If that's enough to know the Knas.
Especially
I didn't make to make a joke. I'm just saying. No, I didn't. I didn't know it's funny. But,
stealing. Okay, it's in the back.
So the Gemara is going to say that Shabbos said one of the Shabbos says is extra. The Gemara is going to say that the Osuk is going to say the reason why we dash and dafka Shabbos said because it says the word Shabbos said extra. If we love dafka, it should have said it one time, but it says it again to emphasize dafka Shabbos said. That's going to be the essence of the Gemara's teretz. Just we're talking about how come the Torah's Nachman and Shom. We'll see probably more in the Gemara, and also it talks about. I think the Gemara talks about that by the say he was embarrassed the fact that he had to carry. He's a gunner, but he was embarrassed. He had to carry it out.
The word brings both of those.
Both reasons, and also about the malacha also. Someone said another shot that he's a more professional gunner. That it's hard to steal an ox, harder than a sheep. It's hard. So he's a more professional. More professional have to give him a bigger knas. That's the first one the Chumash said that looked at. Okay, so but that's the way out. So our subject was who says sharp or says dafkin. The Gemara is going to say because the Gemara's answer right away is because one of these psukim is extra. That I didn't have to say sharp or said twice, and that's going to be the whole shock of a tie back and forth. It would it have been possible to leave out one? I mean, did a color code over here because I couldn't hold cheshbon. I hope it'll help people also. That each step back and forth is to me was confusing, so I hope that'll be clearer. So Rabbi said the teretz Amar Kro Shabbos Shnei Pomim Shabbos in B'Dechinolo. The pasuk repeats itself, says Shabbos an extra time to say Dafka, and now the whole Gemara is going to talk about is that true? And the Gemara it has to explain Amri Hemiyata which one is extra. The Gemara shows there's the Reisha and the Sefer. Let's look in the pasuk again. The Reisha here it says Kignovish. Shor said that's the first time. That's the Reisha, and the Sefer of the pasuk is Chamisha B'Koyin Shalem Tachas Hashor. Bava Kamma said that's the Sefer. And the Gemara wants to know which one should it have left out. First, the Gemara is going to try that it should have left out the Sefer. Just say Kignovish or said Chamisha B'Koyin Shalem Tachtav. Ba'abatzon Tachtav. Leave out the Shor said that it says in the Sefer. Would have it been possible to have such a pasuk? If so, then the Shor says extra, and it deserves the drasha to say Dafka Shor said. That's what I was going to say. Let's try this. Shor said the Sefer is extra. Either Shor said the Sefer miyata the nichtav achman lekigno Shor said the tavachom mochorom. So far it's the same. Chamisha b'koyin shalem tachtov abad son tachtov. That was possible. That's what Rabbi says. It could have said it like that since it says Shor says extra. Is it extra? Not Gemara challenges that. That wouldn't have been good. It couldn't have said like that. Second white line. It couldn't have said that. If would have written this pasuk that we just suggested, first white line, that it said if he stole the shor aseh, if he stole shor aseh and he slaughtered or sold it, he should pay 5 bakar for it and 4 tzon for it. That would have meant maybe that if he steals either a shor or a seh or any animal, whatever, he would have to pay 9 animals. You steal a bakar, you have to pay 5 bakar and 4 sheep. You steal a sheep, you have to pay 5 bakar and 4 sheep. You wouldn't know that it's only 5 for a bakar and 4 for its own. You would have said that 9, 5 and 4. You have to pay the whole thing. Every time you steal an animal, you have to pay 9 animals. Expensive animals, 4 cheaper animals, pay magasa, pay madaka. So it's not extra. So this the pink over here, the challenger, is saying that everything's necessary. There's nothing extra. There's nothing extra. So then you can't dash that Shobah says dafka. Maybe it's all kind of animals. Maybe a chamor also. So Rav is going to be the one. Rav is the green. Rav is the one who's going to be answering, and the Gemara is going to be challenging him. Rav might say that it wouldn't be necessary to say Shor again, just to tell you that each animal pays for itself, 5 times itself, 4 times itself, but not that you pay 9 animals, because one tachta would have been enough for that. If it would have said, if it would have meant, no, I'm sorry. Again, please. We're trying to say that nothing's extra. Tachtav. I need help. What's Rabbi saying? That it would have been enough to say the word tachtav at the end of the pasuk. So the extra Shorba says extra. The Gemara is challenging him. That's not true. Tachtav, the Shorba said at the end of the pasuk is not extra. Because if it would have said the way you presented it, tachtav, I would have thought that you have to pay 9. Either one. There's not going to be 5 or 4. It's going to be 9. You have to pay all 9 anytime you steal an animal. So therefore, I have to say Shorba said. Rabbi says, no, that's not true. I would not have thought that you pay 9 because it says tachtav, and one of them is extra. And the fact that it's extra shows that each one is only for 1. This one is for 5. This one is 4. You can't say that I would have, even if it wouldn't have said Shorba said, even if it would have said tachtav at the end of the pasuk, I couldn't have thought that you pay 9 for every time you steal an animal, because then it wouldn't have said tachtav twice. It would have said tachtav only once. The fact that it says tachtav a second time, that shows you that each animal gets this payment. This 5 is for this animal, 4 is for this animal. So it is extra. It didn't have to say Shorva said. It could have said tachtav twice, and that would have taken care of all problems. That you would have known that it's not 9 for one animal. It's 5 for this animal, 4 for that animal. And it didn't have to say Shorva said. So Shorva said.
Which was animal?
No, if it says he steals it says bokor. It does say chamisha bokor. Chamisha bokor, we're surely going to say, if it says there's a case of stealing a shore and still a case of stealing a set, and it says that there's one case that we're going to be a payment of 5 bokor, and the other one's going to be arbat zone. For sure, we're going to say it's the bokor for the bokor zone for the zone.
We have to say so the book.
I'm sorry?
You have to say so the book.
Yes, it says the beginning of the pasuk says, we're going now like the first one. The beginning of the pasuk says, Shoro said, the case was he stole the ox or a sheep. That's the case.
Yeah.
Now the question was, when it says the payments, it didn't have to be so elaborate and say 5 bokor for the shore, 5 zone for the set. Should have said 5 for it and 5 bokor for it. We know the bokor is going to be for the shore and 5 zone for it. So it didn't have to say the word Shorba said again. That's Robert's claim that it's extra, and therefore you can learn now Shorba said that. But the Gemara challenges him that it's not true. If it would have said tachtav, I would have thought that it's 9. If any animal that you steal, either a shore or say you pay 5 bokor and 4 sheep, anything that you steal. So that's why you have to say shor v'seh. This is tachas hashor. This is tachas haseh. Rabbi says not true. If it would have said tachtav, also one of them would have been extra, and therefore you could have learned that that's showing that each one is for each one. It's not 9, not a package deal 9 for the animal that you steal. It's 5 for a bokor and 4 for its own. So I'm right, Rabbi says. The Green is saying Rabbi's right, and therefore it would have been enough to leave out the shore and say at the end of the pasuk, say tachtav instead. The fact that it says it is extra is right. That it's not the shore b'seh. It's not any other animal. The Gemara still challenges. Third wide line. One tachtav is extra. You're saying that tachtav is extra? Tachtav is not extra. There's another drasha that it says someplace. The Tanya and the Brisa. Yachol ganav shor v'shor mana yishalem tachtav negidin. You might think, when the person said you have to pay 5 bokor, it doesn't have to be the value of the bokor that you stole. You stole a ox, you have to pay back 5 oxen. You can go get the cheapest oxen as long as it's called an ox. You might think. It's also a very big payment. That's 5 times. But you don't have to get the same. You got $1,000 shore. You don't have to pay 5 from each one is $1,000. It's enough to get $500 shore, 5 shforim. So it says no. Tachtav. It says the word tachas. It doesn't really say tachtav. It says tachas. Tachas hashor. Tachas haseh. That shows you that it has to be the same kind of value. So therefore the Gemara says that you have to have extra pasuk for that, and therefore tachtav would not be enough to teach me that it's not 9 for 9 for 1. It could be that you have to pay every time you steal an animal, either a shor or a set or any other animal. You have to pay 9 animals, 5 bokor and 4 tzon. and therefore the word shova says not extra. Therefore, the word shova says not extra. You needed to tell you this halacha, that it's not 9, it's 5 and 4. 5 for the buck, 4 for the sheep. And if it's not extra, so back to the original kasha, maybe shova says lav dafka and applies to all animals. So Rabba has to try again. Ella, shova said the ratio. Okay, so Rabba says something's extra over here. First he tried it, shova said the sefer. Now he's trying shova said the ratio. But look at the pasuk again. Here's the pasuk. Kignavish shor on the side. Kignavish shor aseh. So the end you do need. You have to say it then. Tachas hashor, tachas aseh. That you have to have. Okay. Now we're going to try that. Maybe the first was extra. Could have said kignavish. Leave out shor aseh. It could have said tvachol mochoro. We understand that he stole an animal because he shechted it, and he has to pay $5 for the shor. And we would have known everything. Why does it say shor aseh in the beginning? The extra words must be to tell you that shor aseh. That's going to be Rava's next try. Ella Shava said the Reisha's muta. The Shava said it says the beginning is extra. Boy, he should have said the Nechbrachmana. Here's the pasuk that Gemara is suggesting. Kigno bish, leave out Shava said. Kigno bish, utvachom acharo. Everything would have been good. Why does it say the word Shava said in the beginning of the pasuk? Must be to tell you Dafka Shava said, nothing else. The Gemara challenges that also. Because Rachman Hachi Havamina Ad the gun of Trey with Tabachlu. If the pasuk would have said the way you suggest, if a man steals, doesn't say what he stole. A man steals, he has to pay 5 bakar for the ox and 4 sown for the seh. Maybe he's only 5 if he stole both. He has to steal a shor and a seh. It doesn't say what he stole. If it says shor or seh. But if you take out those words, it says kignovish. I'm just going to figure out from the end of the pasuk what happened. There's something about a shor and a seh, and he's paying 5 bakar. Maybe it has to be. He's only 5 if he did both. If he stole only an ox, he's not chayiv. If he only a sheep, he's not chayiv. If he stole ox and a sheep, and then he then he's going to be chayiv dalet for this one, hey for that one. But maybe if he only stole one of them, it wouldn't be chayiv. So the pasuk has to say shor or seh. So it's not extra. It's not extra. So you have no drasha that it's not going to show on the seh. It applies to all animals. This was the Gemara's challenge. That's the words inside. He wouldn't have been good. I would have thought he's only chayiv if he stole 2 and he shechted them. Or he sold them. But the Gemara says, no, that's impossible. And he shechted them. Okay, the Gemara is going to go soon to the selling. First, the Gemara says about the tvicha. The Gemara says, no such avamina. Utavacho kisid, l'chad. The pasuk is going to say, utavacho u'muchoro. It's just not going to say, shor oseh, but it's going to say, kignovish, utavacho u'muchoro. That means he only shechted one. You can't say that he has to shech both of them. Okay, then the Gemara says about the mecher. Let's go to the other part. Maybe only if he steals both of the 2 of them, the shor and the seh, he sold them. The Gemara says no, the same thing. It says lesson is singular. It says he sold it. He shechted it. He stole it. So I would know that the case is even just one. You don't have to steal both of them and shech them, or steal both of them and sell them in order to be chayiv. It says even for selling or shechting one. The Gemara still tries. The gun of trade. Maybe the case is that he has to steal 2. If he only stole 1, it wouldn't be chayiv. He stole 2, a shor and a seh. And then you're right. It says he shechted it and he sold it. You're right that he stole both, and one he slaughtered, one he sold. That's the case when it's in Vidal Veh. Maybe not in that case. If it wouldn't say in the beginning shor or seh. No, the Gemara says it says either one. It doesn't have to be that he slaughtered and sold. The pasuk is going to say like it says. What does it really say in the pasuk? Right? Is that what it says? Yeah, it says omucharo. So the Gemara for some reason left it out that said umucharo just to get to this kasha. But the Gemara says it says here the first word on the line, it says utavacho kignovishor. It doesn't really say it. It says omucharo. So the Gemara says, don't forget. It says, where did I read before? That was a mistake. It doesn't really say the word pasuk umucharo. It says omucharo. So there's no mistake that he doesn't have to shecht one and sell one because it says either or. The Gemara still challenges that the last try. The Gemara wasn't trying to knock it off. You still have a mina. There's only chayiv if he steals both of them, an ox and a sheep. And what's he chayiv for? For shechting one of them, for selling one of them. You're right. It does say it, singular, or that it does say. As far as his avera was, it's going to be in the slaughtering, it's going to be that he slaughtered only one he sold only one, but maybe the whole thing only starts off if he stole both a shor and a sen. Again, the Gemara is trying to figure out if the words in the beginning are extra, and Rav is claiming that it's extra. It didn't have to say the words Kigno Vishor O Se. It could have left out those shor O Se. And the Gemara is challenging, no, if it wouldn't say it, I would think he's only chayit if he stole both. And here comes Rabba's final answer. Rabba's going to win. Ella, sure, the sefer said the Reisha Miyat. That's a really fancy thing. Sure, the sefer was the Reisha. Well, it means either one of them. You could have left out one. What's the Gemara going to do? It's going to leave out. Just try this on the page. The Gemara's going to give it to us already anyway. But the Gemara is going to say, leave out sure the Reisha and said the sefer. I guess that's what the Gemara is going to do, and it's going to leave out said the sefer. As the Gemara is going to say now, Rabbi's final shot, which is going to last. Sure, the sefer. I made a mistake in what I just did. Sure. So it doesn't say se. Leave out the word se over here. Sure. But then the pasuk says, what's the payment? What's the knas? So left out the shor the sefer. He didn't say the word tachas hashor. So here it's telling us we're talking about a se also. The pasuk in the beginning says kigno bishor, but then the pasuk says that you pay 4 for a se. That means if the same thing would have happened to a se, it wouldn't have been 5, it would have been 4. But now you know everything already. Now you know that he only stole 1. And you know that he doesn't pay 9. I think I had the problem in the beginning. Maybe he's paying 9. You know that also there's also not, and they were able to gain a word both in the Reisha and the Sefer. Could have left out the Sefer. He could have left out the Se in the Reisha, and it could have left out the Shor in the Sefer. Did I say it right? Yeah. Shor the Sefer said the Reisha Lamalish. I mean, no, Shor the Se in Vidach no. So he proved that something's extra in the pasuk. It has extra Shor. It has extra Se. He had to set it up in a way there shouldn't be any mistakes. That has to be the chiyuv is even for stealing only one animal. You have to steal 2 animals in order to be chayiv. And he also showed that it's no havamina. This would have showed that there's no reason to pay 9. You're not going to pay 9. You're only going to pay 5 for the bakar and 4 for the sheep. And there's extra word. The extra word tells us dafka shor b'seh, and it's not like other places where it says shor and it's not dafka. Here it's dafka. So we have got to the maskana that shor and seh is dafka. The din of dalet pay dafka by a shor b'seh. The Mishnah continues. Very interesting. We had this a couple of times. We had this once before, and it was really a bell. I forgot what sugya it was. We had a sugya take 3 pages in a row. Each sugya was the same shorish, arguing in the same point, and the Gemara didn't cross-reference to it, and they talked in a different language in a different case, and it's all the same sugya 3 times, and we didn't understand how the Gemara could do such a thing. The same sugya 3 times within 3 or 4 pages, and with different names, different scenario, but it's all the same. And here the Gemara seems to do the same thing. I didn't see if Rashi or Tais asked the kasha. I'm just wondering. I think we had a sugya yesterday. If Yesh is Kona or not, it was Machlokes Rabban of Yosef. We said that Shinoi is Kona, and Yesh is a Machlokes. And we were holding middle of Machlokes. We tried to be wise each way. We had no kashas either way. Machlokes Rabban of Yosef if Shinoi is Kona, if Yesh is Kona. And there was a kasha Rabbi had for 22 years. And Rashi about Stam Gan Yesh Bailam, Stam Zeli Yesh Bailam. And then Yosef had a teretz. But that was Machlokes. You want to ask, what's the din of Yesh? Machlokes Rabban of Yosef. Now the Gemara starts a sugya from a different angle, and it's going to be Rabban of Sheshes, the same sugya as Yesh Kona or not. So it's like amazing. The mystery. The Gemara, before it had a Rabban of Yosef, and now it has Rabban of Sheshes, and I don't get it yet. Why the Gemara dividing the sugyas? And it's the same sugya again with different rayas, different scenario. See, here it goes. The Mishnah said that who pays kefil only if you steal from the owner. But if you steal from the Ganav stole it, he's chayv kefil. But he has it in his house and he stole from him. Ganav. Someone Ganav came, he stole from the Ganav. He's not chayv kefil. Rashi says in the pasuk, if we're going to be based on ish, the pasuk only talks about kefil if he stole it from the owner, from the shomer, from the owner, not from the Ganav. So there's no kefil if he stole from a Ganav. Amarav, lo shanav lefnei yish. The din that the Ganav, the Ganav and a Ganav doesn't pay is because the first one is a Ganav. And it's not his, it belongs to the real owner. So you're not chayv for stealing from the Ganav. Aval ha'achar yesh kano Ganav rishon. The Ganav sheni, b'shalom tashlum kefil, the Ganav rishon. We have the new concept that the Ganav is kona sometimes. Of course, the Ganav is a Ganav, and At a certain time, he's called the Ganav because he stole it, but it's still not his. At a certain point, it becomes his. So far, the sugi we had was that he doesn't have to pay back the thing anymore. But if it's not Ken Shagozal, there was a Shine Maisa. Now we said that Yush also. Rav saying Rav is like Rabbah, that Yush is Kona. So Rav says if the owner was Miyayish, so it now belongs to the Ganav. Of course he's a Ganav, but now he's a Ganav that owns it. Then he has to only pay back money. So if somebody steals from him, he's a new owner. He has the title. He got a title. The Bezin gives him a title that you own it. You're a Ganav, you have to pay. And he has a bill he has to pay. But he doesn't have to give back that object. So the object becomes his. And now if someone steals it from him, he stole from the rightful owner. Rightful. He's a Ganav. What? So he has to pay careful. That's what Rav said. So Rav says that since I hold Yish is Kona, so once the Ganav was Kona, and now someone steals from him, you stole from me. I'm the real owner.
Sounds good.
So Rav Sheshes is going to say that Yish is not Kona, and that was Rav Yosef's opinion. I'm Rav Sheshes. So this is Rav Sheshes' way of arguing with Rav. He doesn't want to argue with Rav, but he has to argue with Rav. So he says Rav must have been tired when he was saying this. This is the Chofetz Chaim's pshat that he's not insulting Rav. He says Rav said this when he was sleeping. What does he mean? Rav was sleeping when he said this. So it's a way of excusing Rav that he made a mistake.
He was tired.
And that's Rav Sheshes says, I think I don't know if you have the other people. Rav Sheshes talks about Rav. When Rav Sheshes wants to argue with Rav, that's the way he says it. So he's going to bring a raya that Yish is not coming. The Tanya, I'm Rabbi Kiva. That's the says Rabbi Kiva. Rice says Rabbi Kiva says, how come Tabach HaMachar is chayv so much? A regular Ganav. That's better for you. So Rabbi Kiva, like I got the kind of a Gemara. How come the Torah says that Tabach HaMachar has to pay so much more? A regular Ganav pays kefil. And here, the fact that he slaughtered it or sold it, he has to pay 4 times, 5 times as much. The Shorn said 4 or 5 times. How come? So what does the word ishtarish mean? Like took root. But many times you find that the took root, the Gemara uses that as a term of gaining, like mishtar shile, lo mishtar shile. And we looked it up. We were interested if it's a different word, and found out that they say it's the same word. It means ikar shorish. And for some reason, when you want to say that it benefited, you say
The benefit of them was effective.
the other Gemara use it as effect, as benefit.
Right.
They come shile. You gain some place and whatever, but the Gemara use it as benefiting. But they say even that word is not a different word. It's the same word as shorish. And how does it mean benefit? It's like already a borrowed term. You got strong. Something takes root, so it gets strong. And here the Gemara thinks it means the same thing. That means that he benefited. Not benefited. Maybe you said it's better. That it means it was strong. That it became stronger. When somebody stole, he didn't have it, but somebody also slaughtered it. So I would say the pshat of the Gemara is that he distanced it more from the original owner. If somebody steals it, so he took it away from the owner. He stole. But if he slaughters it afterwards, he took it away further from the owner. Now we understand. He made it into dead meat. Before it was an animal, and now he distanced it more. He did more faith. He's mischazik. How about if he sold it? That's what the Gemara wants to know. The case of selling it, either he slaughtered it or he sold it. When he sold it, did he make it more distance from the original owner? That's what the Gemara wants to figure out. And the Gemara says that depends if it made it halachically further from the original owner. What's the difference to the owner? If Reuben has it to Shimon, Reuben is the Ganav, he sold it to Shimon.
Geographically?
It doesn't necessarily. It depends where they live. Right? It can be that the guy sold it to is even closer to that wouldn't mean that. It has to mean halachically it's harder for him to get it back. So now it's what the Gemara is going to talk about here is Shini Rishus. That it's interesting. The Gemara expects us to know a lot without speaking it out. The Gemara expects everybody to know that Yish and Shini Rishus surely is Kona, or at least for our purposes. Yish means that the original owner gave up hope of getting it back, but also it's not in that Rishus anymore. It's in somebody else's Rishus. The Ganav stole it, and the owner is Miyayish. He gave up hope to ever get it back. Maybe that's not enough to own it yet, but when he transfers Rishus, Shini Rishus, it transfers domain, estate, whatever, it transfers ownership. Ownership is not the right word. So then it definitely does belong to it belongs to the buyer. Means Reuven the Ganav sold it to Shimon the buyer. So now if there was years, so then Shimon is allowed to keep it, and the owner is not going to get it back anymore. That's what the Gemara thinks is Shtar Shbechait. If he slaughtered it, so surely it's distanced it from the original owner. If he sold it, also he distanced it from the owner because there's a transfer of ownership, a transfer of title. That's what the Gemara says. Amos. What is the that's the end of the brisa? Rabbi Kiva says the reason why Bava Kamma pays 4 or 5 is because he was nishtarish b'chet nischazik b'chet. He made the sin stronger. The Geneva became worse. Amos. How did he make it worse? If the owner was not meyayish, Meika nishtarish, was there any kind of a strengthening of the chet? Means that the object that's Shimon's house now doesn't make a difference. It's not more Shimon's. If there was only Shini Rishus that Gana transferred it to Shimon's house, but there was no Yish, he doesn't own it anymore. It's not Shimon's. If it were Yish and Shini Rishus, so then it doesn't go back to the owner anymore. And that's what the Brisa might mean. That the reason why Machar is more Chomor than if it wouldn't have been Machar, because there was Yish and Shini Rishus, and he distanced it more from the owner's domain. Halachically, not proximity, but halachically. Must be Lacha Yish. So what is Rav Shesh's proof in the Brisa that we're talking about after the owner was Meyayish? If the owner was Meyayish, so even before the Ganav sold it, he shouldn't be chayiv dalet b'hei for selling it because the owner was Meyayish, and now when I'm selling it, I'm selling my own. The same way he said, right. That's what Rav said. Rav said that once there's years, so then there's no chiyuv of tabach machar because you sold and you slaughtered yours. And that's Rav Sheshes is proving that's not true because he had a brisa for sure learned that the pasuk is talking about after years, and still it says there's a chiyuv dalet b'hei. It says that's the reason why you're chayiv because you're making it worse because years and shini rishus. But if you hold that years alone is a kona, so then the God already owns it himself without transferring rishus, and he shouldn't be chayiv for dalet b'hei. So the brisa is against you. That's kasha on Rav. If Sheish is asking against Rav, and the reason that was bothering me is that this Mamish study we had yesterday or 2 days ago about Rav Ben of Yosef about years, and here it was coming, like starting study all over again, different scenario, different names, different rayas. Right. Interesting. I mean, it must have an answer. I don't know. Amri, they said they answered the kasha. So here the color code is that the pink is the kasha and the green is the answer. Amri, kedama Rav b'nei Shoshana v'chet, achanami b'nei Shoshana v'chet. That the words mishtarshi don't mean because he rooted in the chet in a way that it became distanced from the owner. It just means that he did a chet again. He did something bad again. First he stole, bad, and now he's even selling it. Not because halachically has more, but he's osik more on chet. Does Rashi say anything about b'chet? Even if it didn't help anything, just even if it didn't actually make it that it should be further away. Also, that's called that he's shana b'chet. He's doing more sins. He's actively involved in doing something against the owner, not that it halachically has to be. So not a Rav. So no kasha on Rav. It could be Yesh's corner. Tashma, another attack. It says in the pasuk that he's chayav for slaughtering it or selling it, and there's a drush that since it says both of them together, period. That's the end of the brisa. That just like tvicha, you can't make it alive again. Once you slaughter it, you can't bring it back to life. So also mechira has to be kind of a sale that you can't undo. It has to be a sale that's not undone. What kind of a sale is amos? What kind of a sale we're talking about that you can't be choser? If he sold it, there was no years, and he sold it, so it doesn't go back. It still goes back to the original owner because nothing happened. Everyone, like the Gemara says later on the lashon that shini b'shus without years is nothing. If the ganav gave it to somebody else, but the owner still doesn't have any years, the transfer of b'shus doesn't do anything. So it goes back to the original owner. So what's called the mechira she'eino choseres ela lacha yesh? It must be that there was years, and the fact that he sold it now it made it's eino choseres. But you say that if years is kona, so then already the ganav's not chayv for selling it anymore. That was Rav's taina. That once he owns it, so he didn't sell somebody else's thing. He sold his own thing. If it's talking about years, if the ganav would have been koned by years alone, so then he shouldn't be chayv dalet b'hei. Amay mishlam dalet b'hei. Shalom ocher. He sold his own. He slaughtered his own. It's already his. Rav's chiddush was that years makes the ganav kona. If he's kona, he's not chayv dalet b'hei anymore. That's what Rav said. And here we're proving that it's talking about there was years, because if there'd been no years, then transferring it to Rishus didn't do anything. The transfer of the Rishus alone, just to give it to somebody else, to sell it, Kilu is selling it, it didn't accomplish anything. It still belongs to the original owner, and he gets it back. So this Brisa shows we're talking about after years. And you see that years alone is not Kona. The Gemara answers, Kedam Rav Nachman, There's no years. There's no years. And the Torah is mechayiv him for selling it, even though it doesn't really belong to the second party. There was no years, and Shini was just. What does it mean, choseres? No choseres. It means a temporary sale or a permanent sale. If there be the Torah is only mechayiv for this act of selling, even though the sale doesn't have effect. This lefnei years it doesn't have any effect. But the Torah is only mechayiv in Dalet Vei only if he did a sale that's a permanent sale.
The motions.
Yeah.
It's only going
Right.
through the motions.
Right.
But the motions that he went through was
As a permanent sale. What if he said, I'm only selling it to you for 30 days, then it comes back to me? So that the Torah didn't mechayiv him. But there's no right. No, don't learn out from here that the case is talking about that it's a permanent sale, that the owner can't get it back anymore because it was years and Shini Rishus, and from there proving there was a case of years, and then asking Kashan Rav. It doesn't say anything here about years. So Rav is getting out of all these cases. The whole din of Dalet Vei is only when there was no years. Meisvei. This is the first white line. Also a Kashan Rav. Everything's attacking Rav. Is it true that year Shalom is going? Oh, so this Bryce has a couple of cases, and just to outline it to make it simpler, there's always going to be a guy. It's going to be a Ganav and a Ganav. Like the case of our Mishnah was a Ganav and a Ganav that somebody stole from the Ganav. The first case, there can be three cases. The first case is Ganav and a Ganav. Second case is going to be that the first Ganav was Ganav and Mochar, and then a second Ganav came and stole it from the new buyer. And the third case is going to be Ganav and Tabach, that the first Ganav he slaughtered it, he stole it and slaughtered it, and then another Ganav came and stole the meat. Ganav Mochar, Ganav Tabach. Those are the three cases. In each case, there was a second Ganav that came and stole whatever it was over there, either a live animal or from the one who bought it from the Ganav, or from the one who slaughtered it, he stole the meat. Those are the three cases. So just to make it easy, I think I'll make it easy. I should have put it on the screen, but the first Ganav is always chayiv kefil. Or no, sorry. If it was Ganav, it's chayiv kefil. If he was Ganav the Mochar, it's chayiv Dalet Vei. If he was Ganav the Tabach, he's also got chayiv Dalet Vei. That's no chidushin. The first Ganav is not the chiddush. The question is the second Ganav, the Ganav and a Ganav. So it says the Mishnah Ganav and a Ganav is not chayiv kefil, not chayiv Dalet Vei either. So in the first case, let's do it outside. In the first case, Ganav and a Ganav. First one's chayiv kefil. Second one's not chayiv kefil. Ganav and a Ganav is not chayiv kefil. Only pays for the Karen. Second case, the first one was Ganav and Mochar, and then a Ganav stole it from the buyer. So the first one's chayiv Dalet Vei. He was Ganav and Mochar, and now someone stole it from the buyer.
So he's part of it.
Why is he part there?
Because the guy that bought it illegally. They had no right to buy it because it was a stolen object.
But he wasn't. But he wasn't a Ganav and a Ganav. Was he a Ganav and a Ganav?
But
Is it his or
it's not his. That's the problem. If it's not his, how can you pay kefil? If it's not his, you can't pay kefil for something that it wasn't the person's.
That's the way to go into it.
Yeah, and then one says that if he has to pay kefil, vice versa, that he was going it somehow.
So again, so you're saying that it would have been that he bought it if he stole it from the buyer, if the buyer doesn't own it,
Right.
so there shouldn't be kefil. It will also be a Ganav and a Ganav.
Yeah.
And the Bryce is going to say that he is chayiv kefil. And what's going to be that shows that he does own it, and
Right.
that's what the Gemara is going to work on. How did he own it? How did the buyer own it?
But
It has
if
to
the
be-
person doesn't own it, then there's no way.
Right. Then it's not going to be chayiv kefil taking it from him.
Right.
So this case, that the second case is the case that the first one was Ganav and Mochar. So now the buyer, if you steal from him, it's not going to be chayiv kefil only if he owns it.
Right.
How's he going to own it? If he was Yish and Shinivish, if there was years, Shinivish just loan is nothing. It must be years. That's what the Gemara is going to try to extract from this, that there was a years. And then the years are going to be a kashan. That Rav said that once there's years, there's no chiyuv for than Dalet Vei in the first one.
But that's really the right.
That's going to be the right. The right is going to be for that
The
case.
guy shouldn't be kefil unless the buyer owns it.
Right.
So somebody holds that it kefil, yes, you're chayiv, without you're not chayiv with a stolen object,
Again, kefil is for stealing,
stealing, and
Tabach Mochar is chayiv Dalet Vei.
right.
So what's the question?
So
If you steal it, then they didn't Tabach Mochar. A regular Ganav was chayiv kefil.
Right.
If he was a Ganav and he was Tabach Mochar,
Then he's chayiv.
so then it's chayiv Dalet Vei. And here's giving a case there was, and then
there can't be a case that the guy would be chayiv kefil, but he wouldn't be chayiv Dalet Vei if he.
He's asking, let's say Koine min Aganim.
She's potter
So
from
he's part
kefil.
of Kefil. Would it be able to be a case that the second guy that he owns it enough that I'm Chayiv Kefil? But if I'm Tovech Moicher, then I'm not Mafuyv Dal Vehei.
That's
So no, Kefil and Dal Vehei goes together.
That a gun from the owner is both of them, and a gun and a gun is potter both. Gun and a gun is both.
right. So there can't be a case of that. That's yes, that's you got it.
So here goes the brisa. Maybe I should highlight it somehow. The three cases. Ganav uba. This whole thing is the cut. There's going to be that's to map it out. That's to get a little picture of it to zoom out. That there's going to be a brisa that has three cases, and the Gemara is going to ask kashas. All this is going to be kashas. Still, we're going to have Rav. Rav's going to come to say the answer, and here we have three cases. So let's try.
One is
Ganav uba achar v'ganvo.
one.
Ganav u'machar ba'achar v'ganvo. This is going to be case number 2 in the brisa. And here's gonna be Tavach. Those are the three cases. Make it a little bigger if that we could watch as big as we can. Okay. So gonna be Gonvo. Harishim B'Sham Tashlum Kef. He's a regular gun. Somebody got is told. The Shani Eni B'Sham Ken Bava. The second one is told from a gun. He's a gunner and a gunner. Gunner and a gunner doesn't pay kef. So far it's good. Second case. Gun of a macha. The first guy was a gun of a macha guy. He's going to pay $1 bay. Ubacha b'ganvo, and somebody else stole it from who? From the buyer, right? Ruben the gun sold it to Shimon, and somebody came and stole it from Shimon. Havish misham tashlum yabo b'chamish is a regular gun of a macha. He's paying $5 bay. Vasheni that he stole it from the buyer. Misham tashlum kefil. He does have to pay kefil because it's considered the sheni. It belongs to the sheni. He became the new balabais, and that's Moshe's kasha. Doesn't make sense. Why? He doesn't own it. That's what the Gemara is going to focus on. The third case, gun of a tabach, that the first one was a gun of a tabach, a regular gun of a tabach, and that's the first case of a Torah that is $5 bay. Ubach of a gonvo, and somebody else came and stole it. What did he steal? The meat. The meat. Havish misham tashlum $1 bay. That's Pasha. He's a regular gun of a tabach, and the sheni that stole the meat, Eni misham tashlum kefil. Ela ken b'vad. He doesn't pay kefil. I didn't say that's the third case. This is the third case, and the question is. This is an obvious question also. Why should he not pay kefil? He stole meat.
It's no longer the first thing.
It's no longer, you're right. It belongs to the second guy. It belongs, it's not the second guy. It belongs to the Ganav. The Ganav stole it, and now he slaughtered it. Now it's meat. He stole, and that's called a Shinu Maisa. And it's definitely not the same thing. Before it was an animal, and now it's a piece of meat. And the Ganav was kona the meat, and now if someone steals from him, he should be chayav kefil because he stole from the real owner. So we're putting that in the freezer. Meanwhile. That we're not looking at. We're looking at, and that's the end of the brisa. Till here, we end of the brisa. And now the Gemara starts analyzing, and it wants to analyze the middle case, which was what Moshe pointed out. This point with Tashlume Kefo, that's going to be the problem. Why should we use Tashlume Kefo? Katani Mias Mitziasa. In any case, in any event, we learned the middle brisa. But don't look at the first and the third. Just look at the middle case. That was the brisa. The second one does pay kefil. The first one is going to Macha. The second one stole it. The second gunner stole it from the buyer, and he has to pay kefil. Why should he pay kefil? Amos, what's the case? If the original owner was not Mayayish, why should the second gunner who stole it from the buyer pay kefil? Does it belong to the second one? Does anybody hold that Shini B'Shus alone makes any kinyan? This the Gemara didn't speak it out so clearly, but it's said a couple of times on the page already. That Shini B'Shus without the years is nothing. So the fact that he put it in, he gave it to him, even with a lawyer, it doesn't make a difference. There was no years, and it still belongs to the first one. And therefore, why should he pay kefil to the second one? It must be, this is what the Gemara wants to bring out. It must be that there was a years. And that's why the second one is Kona, and therefore if someone steals it from him, he's the Chayv Kefil. But what do you see? That there was a years, and the first one is still Chayv Dalet V'Hei. Why is it Chayv Dalet V'Hei? If you say, you Rab said that once it was years, so it's not yours anymore. Kona, and therefore it belongs to the Ganav. So now when he sells it, why should he be Chayv Dalet V'Hei? It says in this case he is Chayv Dalet V'Hei, right? It says Bava Kamma that the first one pays Chamisha. If the case was that the owner was Miyai, she shouldn't pay Bava Kamma. He's talking about Chiyash Kona. He's selling his own. That's a kasha Rav. You see that the Yesh alone is not. Only Yesh and Shini Rishus. But the Yesh alone does not lose the ownership of the original owner. That's kasha number 1, which was from the Mitziyasa, from the middle case.
Can it be that there's a yush in between the two?
Meaning
initially he still wanted it, And then he found let's say he found the thief, and he says, "I sold it."
Again, what happened? Reuben stole it,
Reuben stole it,
and he
sells it.
and it was not yet years.
Right.
That's the more one. The more it's years, then so it's not yet years.
Okay. So he sells it.
And again, Rob was going to say that okay, it was not me. I should go ahead.
He's $5.
He's $5 kefil because he's $5 pay because
He's $5 pay
because it still was his. The guy wasn't me. His owner wasn't me. So it's $5 pay.
Now,
Now,
now he finds it sold.
now it's sold. Now it's by Shimon.
Yeah. So that's why he's $5 pay.
But there was no years. There was no
Right.
years.
No years. He's $5 pay.
Yes.
Now there's years. The guy finds out that the thief sold my land. I'm never gonna get it back.
And now
he finds it and that says it
is
wasn't.
that called
the thief
is that called
taken
guys? Is that called years and shilirishus?
Right. Can there be a use in between the two?
Right.
Because of
After the
circumstance?
sale. After the sale. Would that be also after the shini rishus called? After the shini rishus, could the years kick in? I hear.
Logically, it sounds like that could be the case.
I hear.
If I caught a thief and he said or someone stole it from me, even
If
if
the
it was the exact case.
years and rishus is going, and Shul's asking if shini rishus and then years is going, then there would also be a solution to the Gemara that when he sold it was not yet years, and after he sold it, which was really nothing, the sale was nothing because it was the shini rishus without any. But then he was miyah, then the owner was miyah. Maybe over there also would be enough to be the second one should own it. So I don't know the answer to that. But the Gemara's not going to say it. But it sounds like something to investigate. Now the Gemara goes Basu, another kasha is going to be now from the Reisha. Means the first case. The Gemara is also going to ask kasha from the Reisha, which was a regular Gana. Once we proved in the middle case that the case was that there was a years, if it wouldn't have been years, then it wouldn't belong to the second one. He wouldn't be capable of stealing from him. The Tani Reisha, Ganav Bacha Ganvo, a regular Ganav and Ganav. No Tavach Mochar, das Ganav and Ganav. What does it say? The first one is Chayiv Kefil, second one is not. Rish Mishlam Tashlumi Kefil, Bashani Yanim B'Shalom Karen, because he's a Ganav and a Ganav. Mechti, La'acha Yesh Kamin. We proved already from the second case that we're talking about after the years. The first one was Binyayish. If you hold that Yesh alone is Kona, so then it belongs to the second one, you Rav. You say that Yesh is Kona, and then all purposes it's his. So then if someone stole from him, he also stole from the rightful owner. From these two cases, we could the main point is in the middle case. The middle case, we proved there that there must be a year. Once there's a year, so then the second case doesn't make sense according to Rav. The first case doesn't make sense because Rav holds that once there's years, all you have to prove is that there's years in the case. I would say, and it's still $5 pay. That's the second, or the first case that says that there's kefil, but there's no kefil because it's called a ganav and a ganav. But if you say that he was koned already because of years, then I'm the real owner. It's true. Once upon a time, I have a history. I'm a ganav, but right now it belongs to me. So why shouldn't the ganav who steals it from me? Why should he be chayiv kefil? So all this was a kasha on Rav. I'm a Rav, but this Rav, I'll ask you a kasha. Do you think that this brisa is a valid brisa? Matarasta means that it's standing up, it's erect. Do you think that's an erect brisa? And now the Gemara is going to kick in the third brisa, the last case of the brisa, which we said it also didn't make sense to us, that someone stole the meat and he doesn't pay kefil. Why doesn't he pay kefil? He surely owns it. The shini ma'aser surely belongs to the first one was tavach u'mocha. It was tavach. The first one was the ganav tavach, and now someone stole the meat from him. The meat surely the first ganav owns because it's a shini ma'aser. So how come the guy who steals from him shouldn't be chayiv kefil? Do you think the brisa is correct brisa? The Tani Sefer, Ganav b'Tavach, Ubacha b'Ganvo. The Rishon pays that. That's pashut because it was Ganav b'Tavach. The Sheni Enem Shalom Karen, he doesn't pay Karen. Why not? If he stole meat, why shouldn't he be chayiv Karen? Why shouldn't he be chayiv kefil? Does anybody hold that Shini Ma'aser? He made the animal into meat. Surely he's kona, and therefore the Ganav from him should be chayiv kefil. So I proved that the brisa is wrong. Something's wrong here. Since I proved that the price is wrong, this last case surely doesn't make sense. So must be that the author, that the one who quoted the price got mixed up, and he switched around the second and third cases. The psak of the second. So just to maybe we could do that over here. Here it says on the second case it says kefil, and the second price said the third case said keren. So switch it around. Switch around. Did I do right? I think so. Maybe this erase what I don't need over here. Gets me confused. It says in the second case, it said the case was which we're attacking Rav from was that there was a kefil. This was Moshe's. Moshe said it only should be Karen. And the whole kasha was that it says kefil. Why is it must be there was years? That started off the whole thing. So change the gear, sir. The Karen of the third case belongs in the second case. And everything's very, very calm. That they only pay Karen because it does not belong to the Ganav,
Right.
because there was no years. And the third case that says that there was meat over there, so then over there the Gersa shouldn't be Karen. The Gersa should be kefil because there was a Shinei Maisa, and it does belong. There was meat. He made the animal into meat. So now he surely does own it. Now he's still from him. There is going to be kefil. So then, we make it. We prove that the third case can't read the way it is. So therefore, it must be that the psak of the second case goes to the third case, and maybe the third goes to the second. Everything's fine.
That's just marked up as a mistake by the Mishnah.
They were saying it had to have been that the way it was quoted. It was quoted. The way that it was quoted is a mistake. Which everything was Valpeh over there, so it could be that a mistake on it.
Why not? That's why I remained the price and not a Mishnah.
That's why it's not a Mishnah, okay? So therefore, Ella, everything is before years. But the second and third cases got mixed up. The proper Gersa should be Ganva Machar Bacha Ganvo. This is the case, the second case, that the first one is Ganva Machar, and then someone stole it from the buyer. That's Pashit. He was a Ganva Machar. But Sheni is Karen. Change that Gersa. So it doesn't say Kefil, it says Karen. That was what it said originally in the third case. Change it to the second case. Why? The Sheni Vishas below years, low con, there is no years, and therefore the sale was nothing. But the third case, and now he stole the meat. Because he was gonna betabak. Because yes, it does own it. The Ganav owns it. Why? The Kanye B'Shinim Maisa. Because he acquired it by the fact that he changed it from an animal to meat. So Rav is safe. Papa doesn't think that it's so safe. The whole teretz was because the Bryce said the third case doesn't make sense. I could be miyash of the third case. Not necessarily they have to switch around the Bryce. The Bryce makes sense the way the third case makes sense. Sefer Beishamai, we found already an opinion that whole Shinei Maisa is not Kona. The Gemara is going with Hanacha with the premise that every whole Shinei Maisa is Kona. But we have a couple of pages ago, we have Beishamai, Chitan Vasa, and Solus over there by the Esnan Zona, that it is considered the same thing, even though you change it. The whole Shinei Maisa is still considered the same thing. So making an animal into meat, Beishamai is not impressed. It doesn't belong to the Ganav, and does not belong to the Ganav, and therefore he's a Ganav and a Ganav, and you only pay Karen. There's no Kefa. The whole cash that we said that the price doesn't make sense is because if you stole meat from the Ganav, of course it belongs to the Ganav. It's meat. He changed it, but Beishamai doesn't have that problem. So you can say the price is Beishamai talking, and the price makes sense. It's not a mishabesh. That's not a mistake, and therefore the kasha and Rav comes back. Yachi kasha Beisham back to the kasha we had according to Rabba's pshat. So I was going to say a pshat that you don't have to say Rabba's teres that changes the whole brisa around. I'll say a pshat to explain Rav, even according to this brisa. Lo kula lifnei years. Again, this lifnei years. What was the kasha? Oh, this was Moshe. So again, Moshe said that lifnei years. That was the stand to say that it only should be Karen because you stole it from the buyer who doesn't own it. So why should he be chayiv kefil? It's similar, I think, to what Shaul is going to say, but not mamish. That they didn't have Yush in the beginning means when the Ganav sold it, the bottom was not there miyash, like Shaul said. Then the question is, how come it belongs to the second one, to the buyer, that he's chayiv kefil when he steals it from him? They take out these words over here. The going takes it out. Okay, we could skip those words. The reason why it's chayiv kefil is not because there was years. There was no years. They take out these that years going out with Rav. Rav says years is kona. So there was years. And when did the years happen? It's similar to what you said, but not. The more says they're going out according to Rav. Rav was years is kona. So you don't have to deal with the shir shus and the years. Rav,
it's one and the same.
Years alone. Rav holds years alone is kona. So the only question was, when did the years happen? The Gemara first thought that if it was years, it was by the first one.
The sale didn't matter.
What?
The sale did not matter.
The sale didn't matter, and the years, right. The years is the point. Now it wouldn't make a difference if it be the first or the second. It could have been years by the first, and that's what made. And then it wouldn't be Dalit V'Hei, and the second one, there was no year. Still belongs to the original owner, and now he transferred it to somebody else.
Yes.
But the point is that when the years, whenever the years kicks in, Rob says that it doesn't belong to the owner
It could
anymore.
also just be a knas. As far as the second guy, he's just stealing from a regular person. As far as he knows.
But that's not, it's not a question if he knows. The question is, did it belong to that buyer? Did it belong to him? We want to know if you stole from did you steal from a Ghana or did you steal from the original owner? So, did you steal from a Ghana or from a real real owner? Did he steal it from the Ghana or did he steal it from the owner? So, if he did not, if he had years by the first one, so then at that point it belongs to the Ghana, and he wouldn't be chayiv for slaughtering it because he's slaughtering his own, or selling it. Talking about selling it now. So he would have sold it after he sold his own. So there was no years. And if he would now sell it, he sold it to the buyer. So what's by the buyer now? It's before years, so it still belongs to the original owner. So if someone steals it from him, it should be going to be a gun, and it shouldn't be kefil. Why does he pay kefil? Because the case was there's miyash now. It's very similar to what you said, but it's not mamish because you wanted to still go with years and shini rishus. And he said, would it help the years after the shini rishus? That's if you're going not like Rav, that Yishlon is not Kona. So you have to deal with the Shini Rishos also, and you're talking about which was first. But Rav, that holds everything is totally in years, he doesn't care about Shini Rishos. He just says that Yesh alone is Kona. So if in the domain of the second one, that's when the owner was Meyayish, so now it belongs to him, and he's the rightful owner, and if someone steals from him, he's Chayiv Kefil.
Okay. I was assuming that the Yish was happening because of the change of.
But if you hold not like, but your question would still be, we have to find out if you don't hold like Rav. If you hold Yesh alone is not Kona, only Yesh and Shini Rishos, then your question would be, what if the Shini Rishos and then the Yesh? Is that also going to be? According to Rav, we don't talk about Shini Rishos because he doesn't care. If Shini Rishos without the Yesh is surely nothing. And Yesh alone is everything. Everything's totally in Yesh. But according to not like Rav, so we do have to still investigate this question if the Shini Rishos was before the Yesh.
Well, he's saying here, you have to see if the Shina Rishuf is before the Yesh. Because they were saying that would do the same thing.
He's saying that as far as the first one wouldn't be Chayiv Dalit V'Hei if he's selling it if there was already a years. That was
Right.
That's Rav.
We're saying for sure there's no
There was no
years
years.
because for sure there's no years because he is Chayav Dalet Pei according to
Right.
the Brisa.
So
there's
the
no
case
question
is
there.
there was no. So he's not Miyai.
So we're trying to figure out why is the
Stealing from the second one. How did the second one?
right.
How did the second one become the owner? How did he become the owner?
Right.
If
And
there
if
was
it's
no
not
years.
Shina Rishus, then it must be Yesh.
Right. And the yesh alone is enough to make it the second
If
second
that's
one.
the case, yeah.
But I think it's important to find out your question because if we're not going to hold like Rav, I don't know what the halach is. Do we hold yesh alone as Kona or not? I don't know. This is our sugya. Rabbi Nav Yosef over there, Rabbi said yes, and here Rav says yes. Maybe that's going to be halacha. That yesh alone is Kona. I don't know. But if we're going to hold that yesh alone is not Kona, only yesh and shini rishus. What if there was a shini rishus and then the yesh kicked in? Is that also enough to make it belong to the second one? But as far as the Gemara, these are words Gabi Ganav is a mistake, and it's not in any of the Kisvei Yad. Doesn't read so well. So Elafilu b'yesh lahudei kanami kani. Who's kani? Not the Ganav. The kanami kani, the second one. Ela lo mishkachas the mishalmi tavayu ganav rishon v'ganav sheni ela bachi. Means the case is just like a random case to say that the years happened to be in the second one. Doesn't have to be. But we wanted to give a case where both payments, both of them, there's going to be a payment for both of them. The first Ganav and the second Ganav. So we've said a case. If there'd be such a possible case that the first one stole it and sold it without years, and the second one there was years, and then it was stolen from him. I'm sorry. Then by the time the second one stole it from the buyer, there was already years. So the second Ganav is also going to be higher. We wanted to invent a case where it'd be that both Ganav would be high, $1 and one cake. So that would be the case.
So that with Rav Papa now the Brisa can read through.
Right, you don't have to change around the brisa, and it still won't be cash on Rav because you can say the case is that he had years after the sale. And now when the Ganav steals it, second Ganav steals it from the buyer, he's chayiv kefil because it belongs to the second one. And it's just a random case. It doesn't years the first one also would have made that it belongs to the Ganav, and someone steals from him wouldn't be a ganav and a ganav. We want to say a case where the first one and the second both there's going to be a payment. So at this point, I'm not sure if the sugi is over. That's as far as I got. And we have machlokes, Rabban of Sheshes, if Yesh is going or not. And yesterday we had machlokes, Rabban of about the same subject.
Tosis.
If they ask the question, where's Tosis?
No, it's on the base.
Samach Zion Amud Beis. That's the page before. Thank you. Where's that?
One of Tosis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Rabbi Kiva. At the time, I'm Rabbi Kiva. We call on the Parach Chachal the Rab. Every Matzei la Mifrach La'el the Rabba. I'm under the Parach La'el the Rabba. We must Mifrach the Rab. El Dari Rabbi Ari Begazlan Parach Le'im Mili de Gazlan. The Rabbi the Mari Beganav Nichale Mifrach Mili de Ganav. Afal Pi Shein Svara Lachalek. So he's saying there's no this. So Kamo Shik Shubu Beis Hamedrash Nikfu Bigmara. Tomorrow Matzei la Mifrach Mili de Ganav Hikdish. So they're saying that's the same story over again. The Gemara didn't come with Tanya Kavase or Tavayu or whatever. Mamish a mysterious story. Thank you. Okay, at least let's just put a stamp of approval that is that is a mysterious story. But it doesn't bother him. It doesn't bother. It doesn't bother. Why did we ask the kashas here, kashas there? But the fact that it's two sugyas for two different scenarios, different names, and we just ignore, we don't cross-reference.
Doesn't different names help? Meaning, couldn't this have been a separate discussion?
Yeah, but they're usually the Gemara would cross-reference. The Gemara would say, how do you say? Well, the Russian agreement. Hani Tanoik, Hani Amaroik, Hani Amaroik, something. There's some of we find later. Rabban Nefesh about later than Rabban and Aksheshis. So Rabban Nefesh about later. So they should have cross-reference. The Gemara always cross-reference.
Even if
And here it's 2 pages.
like in Yerushalayim, it's not a similar thing.
But it's Islamic similar. It's so close over here. It's even 2 pages away, and like complete ignoring. Okay, Yashikar.
He says I should go down to the court before you get. I said I'm not going to the court.
Huge.
Supposed to be that